What up, what up? Welcome to the video. So this video is going to be slightly different. This one is about basically the 50 different books that I read this year, what I learned, and how it can help you. So it's definitely worth sticking around regardless of you're a basketball player, whether you're an older person just going about normal life, whether you're in business, it doesn't matter. Everything I'm going to talk about applies to everybody and can definitely benefit you regardless of what you do. So stick around. And the other thing I want to talk about, which was why I decided to even do this. So basically last year, at the beginning of the year, I was like, I just want to find a way to challenge myself this year. I want to read more, so I want to get more knowledgeable. I know that's kind of what I need to do. I saw that's what a lot of other successful people did, so I was like, I'm going to read. My original goal was to read 52. I didn't quite get there. Some of the books I read, these ones were not that big, but some of the books that I read were like 500, 600 pages. One of them was a full-on textbook. But yeah, I kind of wanted to just challenge myself and test myself, tell myself I was going to do something at the beginning of the year and follow through with it throughout the entire year. So regardless of what happened in my life, whether I was traveling, whether I was working a 15-hour day, it didn't matter. I had to come back and I had to read because I told myself I was going to do something and I told myself I was going to stick with it, so I had to do it. Which kind of brings me to the first point of what I learned in a lot of these books, which was how you do one thing is how you do everything. So reading every single day builds discipline, right? It builds a habit. And that habit and discipline carries over to other things, right? So I'm not just going to become disciplined at reading and not be disciplined at anything else. So reading every single day basically taught me how to be more disciplined, how to follow through with what I was going to say, and then it started to carry over into other areas of my life. So whether that be for you guys that's reading one book a month, is staying consistent with it and building that discipline to do what you said you were going to do. It's also going to build a little bit of confidence. Like, okay, I said I'm going to do this. I know I'm going to do it. Right? So it builds a little self-confidence in yourself, and that discipline is going to carry over in other things in your life. Now you can say, okay, I want to eat a little bit better. Now you start to eat a little bit better, slowly, slowly, slowly. Now you build into a habit, right? So how you do one thing is how you do everything. That doesn't really matter for just reading. That requires you for being a good person. That requires you for how you are on the court. How you practice is how you play, right? You've heard that one before. It's 100% true, right? You can't just walk around life being lazy in one area and expect you to just pick it up in the next area, right? How you do one thing is how you do everything. Watch how you do anything, okay? It's going to carry over into other areas of your life. So yeah, that is my first point. How you do one thing is how you do everything. Now, lesson number 2 that I really learned that I think will really benefit a lot of you guys and that has helped me tremendously, I'm still trying to get a lot better at it, was performing more deep work or more focused work. So this is one of the books that I highly suggest, Deep Work by Cal Newport. So the thesis of this book basically states that the ability to perform deep work is becoming increasingly rare at exactly the same time as becoming increasingly valuable in our economy. As a consequence, the few who cultivate this skill and then make it the core of their working life will thrive. So basically, the ability to work with extreme focus is becoming more and more rare, especially because of technology. People are on their phones, addicted to their phones. I'm trying to become less of that. It is an extreme challenge. I'm sure you guys have difficulty with that as well. But basically, if you can become good at performing deep work, focused work for hours, maybe 1 to 2 hours at a time with zero distractions, you're going to thrive and become a lot better than a lot of people, because not most people can step away from distractions, step away from their phones and just focus on something deeply. And if you can do that, it will benefit you a lot in the long run. So how can this benefit you guys? Whether you're in business, basketball, whether you're just a normal person, right? If you want to get some better at something, it is going to require deep work. So for basketball players, say you're going into a workout, you have to perform focused work, right? For an hour, zero distractions. How many kids do you see in the gym? They will come into the gym, spend 10 minutes shooting, 5 minutes on their phone. 10 minutes shooting, 5 minutes on their phone. Now, if you're trying to learn something, this is not by any means the best way to do it. So if you want to get better at something, it requires you to focus for a long period of time and with zero distractions. So if you guys are going into the gym to work out, zero distractions. Know what you're going to work on. Focus on it for maybe an hour, hour 15, and then get out. You're going to get more done in less time, right? That is the main thesis of the book. You don't necessarily have to be working all day. So say you're in business, you don't have to be working all day, but the time you are working, make sure it's completely focused work. You're going to get a lot more out of it, and you're going to spend less time doing it. So I've been really trying to implement that into my life with film, with reading, zero distractions. It's a lot better. You can attain a lot more information that way. Find ways where you guys are getting distracted easily. You only have so much attention, right? So think of your attention span as a big circle. If you're using your phone for some things and you're multitasking, you're using up half your attention. You only have half your attention for what you're trying to learn. You can't possibly learn as fast as the person who's using their entire attention to learn that skill. This book alone has changed and helped me a lot, so I highly recommend it. So this other book called The One Thing, which also kind of relates to this topic, is basically just being able to focus on one thing instead of a multitude of things. So, like I said, I kind of took some notes on some of these books. So basically, one of these things that I wrote that is very, very common for a lot of people, business, basketball, whatever, activity is often unrelated to productivity and busyness rarely takes care of business. Everyone is usually trying to just look busy, do a bunch of stuff so they feel productive. But when you really look at your schedule and what you have done, did you just do busy stuff to make you feel like you were productive, or did you actually get stuff done that, number one, got you better or got you closer to your goal? That is one thing that you should always ask yourself. Am I just doing this to be busy, to feel productive, or is this actually taking me closer to my goal? So this right here is actually extremely important. I've read this in multiple books. Basically, 20% of what you do gets 80% of your results. So looking at your day and what you do, 20% of the things you do accounts for 80% of the accomplishments and the things that you get done. So basically just finding what that is and then focusing on that one thing. Focus on what gets you results. Focus on what matters, and then beat that to the ground, right? And then focus when you do those type of things. That's how you're going to get more results. So I'm going to close this point with two extremely, extremely important parts. If you guys are still watching this video, I appreciate you, number one. Number two, you guys are going to get a lot out of this video. These two things I'm going to say right now, alone, if you guys can take this in and really understand it, will help your life tremendously, I guarantee it. The number one thing, this book said, the number one thing, they did a huge survey among elderly people. The number one thing regretted by the elderly people is that they said, I wish I had lived a life true to myself, not of what other people said they wanted me to do. So take that in and really think about that. The number one thing older people said they regretted was doing things that other people said that they should be doing, not what they really felt was true to them. Now that doesn't really necessarily have to do with this book, but this has to do with life. So yeah, take that in. Now this last point does pertain to this book. Protect your time, get as much done in the time you use, plan your time to rest, recharge. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it will make everything else easier? So what's the most important thing that you can do that will automatically change your life? Don't get caught up in the busy work. Be productive with your time. Use it wisely. Point number 2, done. Alright, so the next two things I'm going to talk about are motivation and habits. These two books are The Motivation Myth and Atomic Habits, two really, really good books. So basically, the premise of this book is basically motivation occurs once you already start. So you guys have probably noticed this in your life, like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym, but once you get there and once you start, you feel motivated, right? So that could be with anything you do, right? So motivation is not something that you just have. Obviously, there's sometimes you're more motivated than others, but most of the time you're going to get the motivation once you start. So two little things that this book says. The first one is motivation is the pride you take in the work you've already done, which fuels your willingness to do even more. So basically, once you start and once you see a little bit of progress, you feel more motivated to keep. And this part right here says, starting is hard because motivation doesn't make it easy to start. Starting provides the motivation to finish. So yeah, this book goes into depth about a couple other things, talks more about it, but basically it's just like saying you have to start. You're never going to be really motivated, you're never going to have the perfect time to start, you just have to do it. You'll find the motivation once you start. That kind of goes for a lot of things I've done. I've always kind of wanted to do YouTube, but I was like, maybe not start now, maybe I'll wait. And then I was just like, you know what, why wait? I'm never going to be, the time's never going to be perfect, I'm never going to be amazing at everything to start and be the best YouTuber ever. I just have to start, and now I'm more motivated to keep posting videos, and I really like doing it. So just start, you'll find the motivation. So this book, Atomic Habits, definitely a must read, guarantee it. So one of the great things that this book says, basically one of the first chapters it talks about is like, so when you have a habit, necessarily you might not see results the first day, right? The first day you have a habit, you're not going to see results of it. The second day, you're not going to see results. But the one thing this book says is someone who's hammering away at a tree or a rock, trying to cut it or break it, right? On the 100th strike, it still hasn't broken yet. But on that 101st one, it finally breaks. And most people think that it was the 101st swing that broke the damn rock or the tree. No, it is the 100 other swings that led up to it that broke it. It's the same thing with habits, right? You create a habit to achieve a certain goal. After those days build up, build up, build up, build up, you finally achieve something. It's not because of that one day. It's because of the habits you put in place before that. So that's one of the main importances of creating habits. It's going to take time, but eventually, as you keep chugging away, it's going to pay off. Once a person believes in a personal or particular aspect of their identity, they are more likely to act in alignment with that belief. Basically, that can work for or against you. If you say, I'm not a morning person, you're not going to be able to wake up at 6 a.m. because you're telling yourself you're not a morning person. So how are you going to build a habit saying you're not a morning person? Right? So by saying negative things like that, that's going to hurt you. Now, if you can flip that and say, oh, I'm a morning person, even if you might not be yet, I'm a morning person now. I'm a morning person. Now you start to identify yourself as a morning person, it's going to be easier to get up at 6 a.m. Right? Now, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be easier. So that's one way what you kind of say and believe can kind of affect you and how you build your habits. So my memory card was full. So I don't know where I stopped on this book. I'll have to check, but I'm gonna jump to this book. Lesson number 4 is basically just being present, learning to be present in the moment you are in. Try not to think about the past. Try not to think about the future too much. It basically talks about how that is the key to happiness, and no matter who you are, the goal of life basically is to be happy. So learning this can definitely help you make you a little bit happier, more in the present moment. That is what's going to make you happy. Yeah, so this little quote that it just kind of says from the book is basically, it's pretty powerful if you think about it. It also says unease, anxiety, and stress is basically all formulated off the past and the future. So basically everything you're worrying about, thing that you did maybe in the past that makes you unhappy, something you have to do down the road, you're not looking forward to it, that all ruins your current happiness. And a lot of times, the thing you're worrying about in the future, you can't even do anything about right now. So maybe you're in college or high school, whatever, you have a presentation tomorrow, maybe you're in practice, you're thinking about that presentation you have tomorrow, you're worrying about it, you're stressed about it, but you're in practice right now. There's nothing you can do about that presentation right now. Nothing. Only thing it's doing is taking away from the present moment you're in and from you getting better at that practice. Right? So a lot of times that you guys will notice if you really start to pay attention to it, a lot of the times that the stress, anxiety, and everything that occurs in your life is you thinking about the past or the future at a time that you can do nothing about it. There's nothing you can do about it. There's no reason you should spend time thinking about it. Yeah, so basically I just challenge all of you guys who are watching this, try to be more present. It doesn't matter who you are, right? It doesn't matter who you are. There's too many times throughout the day where you're not present, you're not thinking about where you are. Maybe you're with family, you're thinking about something else, right? That's only taking away from your life. It's not adding to it. So I really challenge you guys to pay attention to that and try to improve on that. And the last thing that this book kind of talks about that I'm going to just throw in there, last little comment. Do not tie your self-worth to external things such as achievement, money, or praise. Be at peace with the present and accept what is. Now that is really, really hard for a lot of humans to do, but I challenge you guys to pay attention to that. It's real easy to get caught up in that. Obviously, the normal human beings, we all do it. But the more you can detach yourself from that kind of stuff, the more happy you're going to be in the long run. And as I said before, that's the goal for pretty much everyone. So with that, I'll close this and we'll get to the last point, which is my favorite, which I have adopted the most so far in this year. It's helped me tremendously. So my last and final point is going to come from these 3 books right here. There's another book, but I don't have it on me. I gave it to someone. These 3 right here. Absolutely game-changing, mentality-wise, mindset-wise, just for life. Doesn't matter what it is. Ryan Holiday, one of the best authors, in my opinion. So my rule for number 5, and what I've gotten from these books, is basically everything is as it is. There is no such thing as good and bad. Humans attach meanings and perspective to certain things. So this book right here says, we choose how we'll look at things. We retain the ability to inject perspective into a situation. We can't change the obstacles themselves. That part of the equation is set. But the power of perspective can change how the obstacle appears, how we approach, view, and contextualize an obstacle, and what we tell ourselves it means determines how daunting and trying it will become. And another thing this thing says that is absolute facts is situations by themselves cannot be good or bad. This is something, a judgment that we as human beings bring to them with our perceptions. So basically, it doesn't really matter what it is. You not starting on your basketball team, you not getting your promotion, right? It's not good or bad. That's just is what it is. There's nothing you can do, right? If there's nothing you can do, there's no reason to stress over it. The only thing you can really do is create a plan to fix it. So basically, accepting what is, moving on, finding a way around it, through it, whatever you have to do to get what you want, but you have to learn to accept what it is for what it is. These books are basically around the Stoic philosophy, which I personally like a lot and have learned about this year. Definitely something I'm trying to adopt. Basically, even something as far as death, they say, as death is among the most certain things in life to a man of wisdom, it should be among the least feared. So death is what it is. It's not a good or a bad thing. It should not be feared. It is absolutely guaranteed. And these books also go on to talk about basically thinking about your death shouldn't be scary. It should be liberating, and you should use it as a reminder to remember that you're going to die. Now, this is something very weird to think about for some of you, but to remember that you're going to die is basically to remember that you're not immortal. You're not going to live forever. If you want to make a difference, you got to work hard now. You got to make use of your time, and you want to leave this earth leaving something behind. You want to leave an impact. You want to leave something. You got to remember that at one point you're going to die, right? You can't just think you're going to live forever, go around life just thinking everything's all sweet, right? You have to come back down to earth and remember you're going to go someday to make an impact and to make the absolute most of it. So just use that as a constant reminder. For myself, has been pretty powerful. It's pretty tough to complain about certain little things when you remember you're going to die and it's not going to matter anyways. So for some of you, that's probably super weird, but for me, it's not. Moving on. So basically, the other thing this book talks about, as I said, accepting what it is and moving on, is basically being able to control what you can control. So I'm sure you guys have heard that on the basketball court, in life, everything. It doesn't really matter what you do, even other people, right? So other people will do certain things that you don't like, right? But there's nothing you can do about other people's actions. That is completely out of your control. So for you to worry about that is completely useless, right? It does nothing for you. There's nothing you can do about their actions. Basically, another quote that I read, I'm not sure what book it was, said to be angry at someone else is to basically take poison and hope that it affects them. So being angry at someone else is only hurting you. Being angry at them doesn't hurt them, doesn't affect them, it only affects you. So being able to let go of things like that will help your life tremendously. It'll help you on the court as well if you're a basketball player. You can't control what your coach does. You can only control what you do. Complaining about your coach not playing you, complaining about this and that, does nothing for you. Put more time into yourself and what you can control, and that's what's going to benefit you. And that topic of controlling what you control kind of also goes into, what book was it? Also goes into kind of this book about worrying about the future and stuff like that. The future is out of your control. You can't control what happens in the future, whether that be with you, with a family member, with someone else. You can't control that. So worrying about stuff like that, worrying about stuff you can't control, is useless for you. So learning to tune out the stuff that's useless, learning to tune out the distractions, is only going to help you become more productive, become more of the person that you want to be, and ultimately make you happier, right? So I haven't even touched a lot of the important things that were in these books. I just tried to cover what came to my head. Another thing I'm going to do this year with these books is go over and read them again. Because especially these books are extremely, extremely powerful, along with a couple other books that aren't here. Like life-changing books that can help you tremendously if you can adopt a lot of the things in these books. So I'm going to go over and read all these books again this year. Just remind myself, constant reminder, these are key important things that will make you happier, make you a better person, help get you to where you're trying to go. I know this video was a little different. If you guys liked it, please drop a comment. And if you would really, really be an awesome person, share it. That'd be really cool. But yeah, with that, I'm out. I hope you guys liked it. We'll see you guys in the next one.